The alien warship hung in the void, a silent ghost above the blue world. From the bridge, Commander Relak watched the planet's glowing ocean. Just moments ago, a single human had dived into that toxic sea, and somehow changed it. Now, more human ships were arriving, slicing through the clouds, each larger and brighter than the last. Anxious silence choked the bridge. The crew's fear was a palpable thing, heavy in the air. "Commander," the pilot's voice was barely a whisper, "should we retreat before they spot us?" Rylak didn't turn. "No, we stay. I want to see what they're doing." The human ships descended, humming a low, thunderous tune. They weren't warships. Their wings were broad, their bodies a brilliant silver white. Like colossal flowers, their undersides opened, releasing enormous machines that pulsed with an internal blue light. They settled gently onto the ocean, floating beside the lone human diver. Through our drones, we saw it all. "What are those devices?" one scientist murmured. "They look like filters," another answered, his voice full of disbelief. The machines activated. Long tubes plunged into the toxic brew, sucking up the thick, deadly salt and spewing out pure, clean liquid. The sea began to sparkle. Small, bird-like drones zipped across the waves, dropping tiny capsules that bloomed into mist and light. It was unbelievable. A world of death was being reborn before our very eyes. On the bridge, the silence was absolute. We'd never witnessed technology on this scale. An officer muttered, "They're not here to conquer. They're here to heal." Relak remained still, his mind racing, shattering every prejudice his species held about humanity. Reckless, violent, dangerous. It was all wrong. "They are changing an entire ocean," he said, his voice low with awe. "And that one man, he started it all." Suddenly, a piercing alarm blared through the ship. The comms console flashed. "Commander, incoming transmission," the technician cried out. "It's from the human ships." Relak stood tall. On screen, a woman's face appeared, calm, serious, human. She wore a dark uniform, an Earth Federation symbol on her shoulder. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez," she said, her voice steady. "We know you're watching. Please do not be afraid. We mean no harm." Relak chose his words carefully. "You are interfering with a toxic planet. That ocean kills everything it touches." A faint smile touched her lips. "We know, but to us, it's not as dangerous as you think." Relak frowned. "You're saying humans can survive what destroys all other life?" Her expression softened. "Not survive, Commander. Adapt. Our ancestors evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. We don't fear harsh worlds. We study them. We fix them." Relak felt a chill. He turned to his lead scientist. "Are their readings true?" The scientist nodded, stunned. "Yes, Commander. The sea's toxicity has dropped by 90%. It's becoming normal water." Gasps echoed across the bridge. Relak faced the human captain again. "Why? What is your purpose here?" Vasquez looked thoughtful. "This planet used to be like Earth. It was destroyed long ago. We came to bring it back." "So this is your world?" Relak pressed. "No," she replied gently. "But one day it could be a home for someone else." Before he could process that, the alarms shrieked again. "Commander!" the pilot yelled. "Unstable readings from under the ocean. Something is moving, something huge." The screen showed the water trembling violently. The areas the humans had purified began to glow with an intense, unnatural light. Captain Vasquez looked genuinely surprised. "That's not us." From the abyssal depths, a colossal dark shape began to rise. The waves churned into a frenzy. A low, guttural growl vibrated through our hull, like the sound of a planet waking from a nightmare. "What is that?" Relak whispered. The scientist's voice shook. "It's alive." The surface exploded. A leviathan of salt and light erupted from the sea, taller than mountains, its eyes burning like white-hot stars. The ship shuddered. The human fleet scattered. Vasquez's voice crackled over the comms. All units, retreat to a safe distance. Repeat, retreat. The creature roared, and the newly cleansed water around it began to boil. What have they done? An alien cried. Relax stared at the beautiful chaos. They woke something that was sleeping. The Leviathan turned its gaze upward, locking onto us and the human fleet. Then Vasquez's voice cut through the static, calm amidst the storm. Commander, get your people to safety. We'll handle this. Handle it? Relic's voice trembled. That thing could destroy this entire system. Her reply was chilling. It won't. Not if we remind it what it used to protect. The transmission died. We could only watch as one tiny human diver prepared to face the glowing monster, returning to the raging sea. Rilak whispered, his voice filled with a new kind of fear and wonder. Do they truly feel none? The sky above Zorath 9 turned dark again. Thunder rolled across the atmosphere and the glowing ocean twisted in fury. The ship shook as energy waves slammed into us. I gripped the edge of my command chair. Below, the massive creature, the Leviathan, rose higher, its huge body shimmering with blue and white light. Commander, my pilot shouted. The human ships are forming a circle around it. I stared, confused. They're not escaping? No, sir, the technician said. They're going closer. Through the main screen, we saw the human fleet move with perfect coordination. Each ship released bright drones that hovered over the creature, forming a glowing ring. Strange sounds, almost like a song, echoed through the atmosphere. What are they doing? A scientist whispered beside me. My attention was fixed on a single human diver, the same one who had first entered the sea. He was back, swimming toward the Leviathan, carrying a shining sphere. That human is insane, one of my officers muttered. He'll be crushed or burned alive. But the diver moved calmly without fear. Suddenly, our communication panel buzzed. A message from the human captain appeared. This is Captain Vasquez of the Earth Federation, she said firmly. All alien vessels, keep your distance. What's happening now is part of the restoration sequence. Restoration? I repeated, baffled. That thing is destroying your ships. It's killing you. Vasquez shook her head. You don't understand, Commander. That creature isn't our enemy. It's the planet's guardian. It was created long ago to protect this world's oceans. Our purification process woke it up too fast. Now it's in pain, confused, and afraid. I stared at her in disbelief as the creature roared again, sending massive waves crashing against her fleet. And your diver? I asked. What can one human possibly do against that? Captain Vasquez looked straight at me. He's not going to fight it, Commander. He's going to calm it. My entire crew exchanged shocked glances. Calm it? One of them whispered. That's suicide. On the screen, we watched the diver swim directly into the Leviathan's shadow. The sea lit up with blinding light as he reached its massive chest. The sphere in his hands began to glow brighter, pure white, almost painful to look at. What is that device? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Our memory core, Vasquez answered. It contains recordings from Earth's oceans, the songs of whales, the sounds of rain, the heartbeat of life. He's going to remind the Guardian what peace feels like. I was stunned. You're using sound and memory to stop it? Vasquez nodded. Not everything needs to be destroyed to be defeated. For a moment, my bridge was silent. The Leviathan let out one final terrible roar that shook the very sky, and then slowly it began to quiet down. The ocean calmed. The glow faded from violent blue to a gentle silver. The giant creature's eyes, once burning white, softened into a deep, calm color. It lowered its massive head, almost bowing toward the human fleet. He did it, one of my crew members whispered. The human calmed it. But my eyes narrowed. Where is he? We searched the scanners, but the diver's signal was gone. Captain Vasquez's face turned pale. Where's the signal from Unit 1? She demanded. A voice from her crew replied. Lost, Captain. No life signs detected. I felt an ache in my chest. The human had saved the planet, but vanished. The Leviathan gave a low, rumbling sound. Not a roar, but something softer. It slowly sank back into the ocean depths, disappearing beneath the newly purified waves. The sea turned clear and still. I spoke quietly to the human captain. You sacrificed one of your own for a world that isn't even yours. Why? Vasquez looked at me, her eyes heavy but proud. Because every world that can hold life deserves a second chance, and every life that can give hope deserves to try. Her screen faded. I turned to my crew. Record everything. This is history. My scientist nodded, tears in his eyes. What should we name this planet, Commander? I looked out the window one last time. Not Zorath 9 anymore, I said softly. From today, it will be called Humanus. As the human ships began their quiet exit, a soft voice echoed faintly through the static of our radio. It was the diver, weak, distant, but alive. Don't mourn me. I'm still here. The ocean remembers. My eyes widened. He's alive? But before we could trace the signal, it vanished. The ocean shimmered one last time. For the first time in my long life, I whispered something a human once said. Maybe this is what courage looks like. The planet was quiet again. The storms had vanished. The deadly salt water had turned clear and blue. The giant guardian, the Leviathan, had returned to the deep, sleeping peacefully once more. From the orbiting alien ship, Commander Rylak watched the calm ocean in silence. It was hard to believe this was the same world that only hours ago had been a sea of acid and death. His crew worked quietly around him, scanning, recording, and analyzing. But their voices were softer than usual. Something about what they had witnessed had changed them all. Commander, said the science officer slowly, we're detecting plant growth along the shorelines. The soil is alive again. Rylak nodded without turning his gaze from the viewport. And the humans? He asked. Their ships remain in orbit. It looks like they're preparing a base, maybe to study the planet further. Rylak stared at the distant ships. After everything, they still stay. He sighed. Typical humans. A few moments later, a soft tone echoed across the bridge. Commander, said the communications officer. Incoming message from Captain Vasquez. Put her through, Rylak ordered. The main screen came to life. Captain Vasquez appeared, her face calm but visibly tired. She offered a faint smile. Commander Rylak, I hope your systems have stabilized. I want to thank you for not interfering. Rylak crossed his arms. I didn't interfere because I didn't understand. I still don't. Why risk so much for this one world? Vasquez's eyes softened. Because, Commander, this world has history, a history that's connected to us. Rylak frowned. Connected? How? Vasquez nodded to someone off-screen, and a new image appeared, an old star chart. This planet was once visited by humans thousands of years ago, she explained, back when Earth's early explorers first left their home system. Some called it the Twin Sea. Rylak leaned forward, intrigued. So your people knew about it before? Yes, she said. But something went wrong. The first human colonists here vanished. No one ever found out why. We thought the planet had died, until your kind rediscovered it. Rylak's eyes widened slightly. And you came to finish what they started? Vasquez shook her head. No, we came to fix what they broke. The alien bridge fell silent. Rylak stared at the calm waves below. You mean, your ancestors destroyed it? Maybe not directly, Vasquez admitted. But they changed its balance. The planet's guardian, the Leviathan, was designed to protect life. When the oceans turned poisonous, it went mad trying to fight what it couldn't stop. The planet slowly died. And so did its people. She paused. We didn't want to repeat that mistake. We wanted to give this world a second chance. Relax studied her face, a new sense of understanding dawning on him. And your diver, the one who calmed the creature, was he one of those descendants? Vasquez nodded slowly. His name was Dr. Aiden Cross. His great-grandparents were among the original colonists who vanished here. He volunteered for this mission to honor them, and to understand why the planet rejected life. Relax felt a deep respect rise inside him. A single man carrying the weight of generations, he said softly. We have no word for that kind of courage. Outside the ship's window, sunlight broke through the clouds, reflecting off the newly formed waves. For the first time, Relax noticed colors, faint greens and golds in the water, like the world was breathing again. Captain, he said, our sensors detect that the ocean is producing oxygen again. You've revived the planet's atmosphere. Vasquez smiled gently. Then it worked. Maybe Aiden's sacrifice wasn't in vain. Relax hesitated. Your crew said he was alive. His voice was heard. She looked down. We've tried to trace it. There's no signal now. But sometimes when we scan the ocean floor, we hear something. Relax tilted his head. What kind of something? She looked back at him, her eyes glistening. A heartbeat. The bridge went silent. Even Relax felt a chill. A heartbeat. Faint, buried deep beneath the ocean floor, repeating like an echo from the planet's core. Commander, whispered his science officer. What if the human became part of the Guardian? Part of the planet itself? Relax didn't answer. He looked down at the calm sea, its blue surface reflecting the alien ship like a mirror. Maybe that was what the humans had always done. Not conquer worlds, but join them. Maybe survival for them wasn't about resistance, but unity. Captain Vasquez's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Commander Relax, we want to share our data with your species. There's much we can learn from each other, about life and about mistakes. Relax nodded slowly. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps understanding is stronger than fear. She smiled. That's how it begins. The connection closed, leaving Relax staring at the ocean one last time. He turned to his crew. Prepare to transmit our full observation logs to the humans. Let this be recorded in our history, not as a warning, but as a lesson. As the alien ship moved across the sky, sunlight glimmered over the calm waves. Deep beneath the water, something glowed faintly. A white light, steady and peaceful, pulsing like a human heartbeat. The planet was alive again, and somewhere in its depths, perhaps Dr. Aiden Cross still watched. No longer a visitor, but part of Humanus itself. 1 full year had passed since the planet Humanus came back to life. What was once a deadly, toxic ocean world was now a shining jewel of green and blue. Lush forests grew where poison once ruled. The skies were clear, filled with the delightful sounds of new birds and the gentle murmur of flowing rivers. Humans and aliens, once strangers, now lived and worked side by side on floating bases that dotted the calm sea. Together, they studied the planet, shared their knowledge, and built something far greater than either species could have ever imagined alone. A lasting peace. But even as they celebrated this new beginning, everyone remembered the name that started it all. Dr. Aiden Cross. Captain Vasquez stood on the observation deck of the new Humanus research station. She watched the endless ocean below, its soft waves glimmering under the planet's twin suns. Every night the water still glowed with a faint, ethereal light. It was the very heartbeat of the planet, a pulse that felt alive, gentle, and eternal. Relax's voice crackled through her communicator. Captain Vasquez, he said, his tone filled with a quiet respect. The council has approved the monument. The ceremony begins in 1 hour. Vasquez managed a sad smile. Thank you, Commander. I'll be there soon. At the edge of the ocean, a great monument made of white stone and blue crystal stood tall and proud. At its center was a symbol, half human, half alien, intertwined like 2 waves meeting as one. On the base of the monument, simple words were engraved for all to see. He gave himself so that life could breathe again. Hundreds gathered that day, Human scientists, alien commanders, and explorers from countless worlds. For the first time in history, both species stood shoulder to shoulder, united without a trace of fear between them. As the ceremony began, Relak stepped forward to speak. His usually cold, analytical voice was now soft, filled with a deep, surprising emotion. Before this mission, he began, our people watched from afar. We saw humans as reckless, as destroyers. But we were wrong. He paused, his gaze fixed on the glowing sea. We watched a single human dive into what we thought was certain death to save a world that was not even his own. We witnessed a courage we could not measure. And in that moment, we watched the birth of something new, hope. The crowd was completely silent, the ocean whispering softly in the distance. Then, Captain Vasquez took the stage. Her voice trembled slightly, but her eyes were bright and determined. Aiden Cross didn't die, she said, her voice growing stronger. He became part of Humanus. When we see that beautiful light under these waves, we see him. Every single heartbeat this planet gives, and that's his voice telling us all, live. That night, long after the ceremony had ended, Vasquez and Relak stood together near the water's edge. The moons cast their silver reflections across the surface, and a soft wind carried the sweet scent of new life. Relak looked up at the star-dusted sky. It feels strange, he said quietly. To think that a human spirit could truly bond with an entire world? Vasquez smiled warmly. Maybe that's what humans do best, connect with the impossible. Relak nodded slowly in agreement. My people have begun teaching our young about Dr. Cross. They call him the one who became the sea. Vasquez let out a soft laugh. That's beautiful. Relak looked at her. And what will your people call him? She gazed at the ocean where the faint blue light shimmered beneath the waves. Not a hero, she said softly. Not a legend. Just human. As they watched, the light under the sea began to move, slowly and gently, forming shapes beneath the surface. For a brief, breathtaking moment, it looked like a giant, glowing figure standing tall in the water. A man made entirely of light. Relak froze, his voice a whisper. Do you see that? Vasquez nodded, her eyes wide. Yes. The figure raised one glowing arm and pressed its hand gently against the surface of the water. The waves rippled outward, touching the shore like a warm, tender goodbye. Then, just as quickly as it appeared, the light faded, sinking back into the depths. Vasquez closed her eyes. Good night, Aiden. Months later, the story of Humanus had spread across the galaxy. It became a tale told in classrooms, on the bridges of starships, and even in ancient alien temples. They called it the human who healed a world. And across 1,000 different worlds, the message was always the same. Life is not something to be conquered. It is something to be protected, together. And far, far below the shining seas of Humanus, deep within the planet's heart, the great Leviathan still slept. Its massive form pulsed with the gentle light of its new soul, a steady, peaceful rhythm that echoed through the water. Thump, thump, thump. The planet breathed, the guardian rested, and somewhere within, the voice of Dr. Aiden Cross whispered softly, carried by the waves, eternal and forever free. Days passed on the now thriving planet of Humanus. The once dead ocean had miraculously come alive. Gentle waves lapped against shores where new, green plants were beginning to sprout. For the first time in centuries, the air smelled fresh, clean, and full of promise. From his ship in orbit, Commander Relak watched this incredible transformation with quiet awe. It's beautiful, one of his crew murmured beside him. Relak could only nod in agreement. A world reborn, he said, and humans did this. But a nagging unease settled in his gut. The silence from the planet below felt incomplete. Down on the surface, the humans were busy constructing a research base, a small floating city of silver domes and gleaming towers. Captain Vasquez led the operation, a rare smile gracing her lips as she surveyed the calm sea. After weeks of turmoil, There was finally peace. Her science teams worked around the clock, taking samples, recording every minute change in the revitalized ocean. "Captain, the water chemistry is perfect," one scientist exclaimed. "The acid is gone, the salt levels are stable. Life can truly return here." Vasquez nodded, her gaze fixed on the blue horizon. "Good. That's what Aiden wanted." She whispered to the wind, "You did it, Dr. Cross. You brought the world back." But that night, beneath the light of the twin moons, the fragile peace was shattered. The waves began to churn strangely, starting with small ripples that quickly escalated into violent, swirling vortexes. On the base, machines sputtered and failed. Energy readings went haywire, spiking across every system. "Captain!" a technician yelled, his voice tight with panic. Massive movement detected beneath us, deep under the ocean floor. Vasquez sprinted to the control deck. "Is it the Leviathan?" she demanded. "Yes," the technician replied, fear stark in his eyes. "It's waking up again." Miles above, on the alien ship, the same disturbance sent alarms blaring across the bridge. Relak shot up from his chair. "Commander," his science officer cried out, "an energy surge is erupting from the planet's core. It is the same frequency as the Guardian creature." Relak's eyes widened in disbelief. "After all this, it's returning." The main view screen flickered to life, showing a terrifyingly familiar sight. The ocean was glowing again, that same intense blue light that had engulfed the sea during Aiden's fateful dive. But this time, something was different. The light wasn't chaotic or violent. It pulsed slowly, rhythmically, like a giant heartbeat. On the surface, Captain Vasquez stood outside her dome, mesmerized by the glowing waves. They were no longer threatening, but calm, alive, pulsing in unison. Her communicator buzzed. It was Relak. "Captain," he said urgently, "what is happening down there?" "I don't know," she replied, her voice filled with wonder. "It's not an attack. The readings show emotion." "Emotion?" Relak repeated, completely baffled. "Yes, the energy pattern isn't aggressive. It's like the planet is trying to speak." Suddenly, a colossal shadow moved beneath the waves. The Leviathan rose from the depths, its immense form bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. But this time, its eyes were not blinding white. They were a deep, peaceful blue. The creature's voice echoed across the world, a sound like thunder and music intertwined. The ground trembled, but no one ran. Everyone just listened. Then, woven into that strange cosmic song, a familiar human voice began to speak. Faint, but unmistakably clear. "Do not fear. The Guardian remembers." Vasquez's heart stopped. She knew that voice. "Aiden?" she whispered, her own voice trembling. The voice continued, gentle and steady. "The planet is awake. It breathes again. The Leviathan is not alone. And neither am I." The Leviathan's chest glowed brighter, and within that light, shimmering shapes appeared. Waves of data, fragmented memories, and faint, ghostly human images. For one heart-stopping second, Vasquez saw him. Dr. Aiden Cross, his suit cracked but his face serene, standing within the glow. Relak's voice crackled through the radio, filled with disbelief. "Captain, is he alive?" "I don't know," she whispered back. "But he's here." The Leviathan lifted its head, looking towards the human base and the alien ship in the sky. A deep, soft vibration moved through the air, not a roar but a message. The translation system struggled, then words began to form on the screen. "Together, protect. Together, remember." Tears streamed down Vasquez's face. He's merging with it, she realized. He's become part of the Guardian. From orbit, Relak stared at his own readings. The human mind, joined with the creature, that's impossible. "Not impossible," Vasquez said softly. "Just human." The Leviathan slowly sank back beneath the waves, leaving a trail of fading light. The technician reported, "Energy stable. No danger detected. The planet's core, It's balanced again. Rylak watched silently from above. So that's what he meant by healing the world, he mused. He didn't just fix it, he became part of it. Later that night, Vasquez stood alone on the shore. The soft wind carried the sweet scent of new life. In the distance, a faint glow pulsed beneath the water, Aiden's light, beating in time with the planet's heart. "You wanted to bring back life, Aiden," she said quietly. "You did it. And now, you are life." Above her, countless stars reflected on the calm sea. Deep below, the Leviathan rested, no longer a monster, but a guardian and a friend. And in the silence, one last whisper echoed in her communicator, as soft as the ocean's breath. "Tell them we remember."